All right, welcome. Thanks everyone for being here. Let me go to the actual presentation. I'll give you a copy of this if you stick around at the end for those who are here live. Okay, so we have a few things to do today. And again, I thank you for taking the time to be here. A couple of introductions. I want to give you an overview of the coaching marketplace. Talk a little bit about where what we're doing today fits into the broader agenda. We're talking about coaching skills. I can only do so much in a public webinar compared to what we do in our program, where we can break you into groups, we can do demos, we can really challenge you. So today's, a little bit different, a little bit more lightweight, I would say for sure. But then we'll get into it. We'll get into the foundational coaching conversation called active inquiry. We'll talk about the Center for Executive Coaching. One of my goals, and I hope yours as well, is to see if this is a fit for you. If it is, this isn't going to be a big marketing sales thing. If you want to reach out, I'm happy to have a conversation with you to see if it's a fit and to answer any questions you might have if I can. And then we'll get back to coaching and we'll do a little bit of a practice exercise that I think works well in a more of a public seminar where we don't know each other well and I haven't really vetted you to know, who's right and who's not for the program. Okay, so I hope that's good. And then we'll stop and we'll do some questions and answers as time permits. Okay, so let's jump in. First, my name's Andrew Neitlich. I'm the founder and director of the Center for Executive Coaching. I started practicing coaching about 2 decades ago. I was a management consultant and very quickly realized, not very quickly, but after about 6 years, realized that clients knew the answers, right? We would do these fancy analyses and benchmarking studies. And almost all, after a while, clients would say, yeah, I kind of knew that. And then I'd say, so, why? Why do you just pay $250,000 for this? And usually the answer was because I need someone to talk to, right? The time I value most with you is the time when we're talking about how do I make this happen? I have a lot of people gunning for my job. I don't know who I can trust. And the time we can spend together figuring out, how to make tough decisions, the easiest way to make these changes happen are really valuable to me. And so that's when I decided to jump into my own practice, really as a coach. And it took about a year to replace what was a pretty good salary. I floundered a lot for the first 6 months, but then figured it out. And so, as a result, I just feel super blessed. This is my home office. I work with amazing leaders on critical issues. I use my time the way I want. Family is really important to me. I go to all my daughter's basketball games. I visit my kids at their colleges. I got to pursue some of my dreams about writing books, speaking around the world. It's a very lucrative profession. And I just feel just totally blessed. I'll say this, business for me has improved significantly since COVID. Before COVID, a lot of clients expected us to be present. And COVID made things like Zoom and Teams really acceptable. So I have clients in Mexico, Singapore, Malibu. I'm in Florida. This is just becoming true again. We have a house on an island where I live in Florida, West Coast. It's called Palm Island. You have to take a car ferry there. Got hit pretty hard with Hurricane Ian last year. We're just moving back to it now. So that statement is true again. But if I can run a coaching practice in the middle of nowhere, you can too. You really can establish yourself as a national and international expert. So it's pretty exciting time in coaching. Just briefly, the Center for Executive Coaching is an ICF accredited coach training organization. They've changed their language. We're now called Level 1 and Level 2. Essentially, we give you the easiest pathway to your ICF designation. If you know what that is and you want it, we'll talk more about that soon. The people who come to us are unique, right? Other coach training programs are really big, and the bell curve of people who join is really, really wide. Like you get a lot of people who are adrift, looking for life coaching, and you get some great people too. We really focus in on already successful professionals. Doesn't mean you have to be a CEO, but you should have done something, whether it's deep education in things like psychology, business, organizational development, or some track record of success as a leader, and also a passion for mentoring, coaching, and developing people to be better. Okay, we're really known for our toolkits, our practical approach, personalized, ongoing support, And I'd say since 2006, we've worked with just about 3,500 professionals, 32 countries around the world. Okay. So that's who we are. The way we really like to introduce ourselves is with testimonials. I won't torture you with these. If you go on our website, on the right side, you can see 250 or more. I think it's up to 300, 350 testimonials. More importantly, we started a new initiative where we interview graduates about what they're up to. We call it our Hall of Fame. And so, if you're not sure you want to get into this field or you wonder what's possible, go to the website, centerforexecutivecoaching.com, and take a look at some of those recordings. It's people, all different niches, all different types of folks, and see what you like. Okay. Let's talk about the market. By the way, ask questions anytime via chat. I ask that you just try to make sure your question would be relevant to everybody. If you have specific, things, a very unique circumstance, email me and we can talk through that. So according to research by the ICF, coaching is a $2.9 billion global market. Harvard Business Review did a study and found it's a $1 billion market in the United States, and it's showing 5.5% growth. That included the pandemic recession. Okay. Return on investment studies are now done. There is no doubt that coaching generates a return on investment. It's anywhere between $4 to $8 return per dollar invested in organizations. And when you combine coaching with training, you get 4 times the results of training alone. That makes intuitive sense, right? We know from a training, people forget stuff within a week or two. Coaching helps to reinforce the learning. And plus, people know they're being watched and that this is the focus. All right. And I would say, we used to say like something over 50% of Fortune 500 companies do coaching. I think it's all of them now. And really, what's unique these days is that organizations of all sizes and all sectors have embraced coaching as pretty much a standard professional development tool. So it's a great time to get in. Okay. Still growing, but it's not the Wild West that it was when I first started. All right. So a lot of people call me and say, would I be a good coach? So we're going to make it easy for you. There's 3 things we look for. You should know if you have these things. 1, there's something about what makes people tick, perform at their best, or be their best that you have a passion for understanding and helping people do, right? Like in my case, I was a management consultant, but I also ran the training and professional development part of our firm. And I love that a lot. So a lot of people who join us, probably all of them, say that they found mentoring, coaching, and developing others to be among the most rewarding parts of their career. And they tell us that, they're sort of the person people come to. You're a good listener. People come to you for guidance, coaching, and support. 2, coaching requires verbal dexterity or agility. By that, I mean good listening, good collaboration, good dialogue. Okay. You don't have to be a Broadway actor, or I'm not talking about that. You can hear my nasally Boston accent. Today, you will have the privilege of hearing me stumble over words and say things, all that's like I'm doing right now. That's what not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about presence and the ability to turn off your need to control, to judge, to diagnose, to fix. We'll teach you how to do that, but that's hard. People who join us are busy executives, leaders. They're used to telling people what to do. They're used to making decisions. They're used to solving. Coaching is a little bit different. Okay. And finally, I believe that coaching, especially executive and leadership coaching, is a privilege. And by that, I mean, you have to be credible. So you should have something that you come to the table with before you join us. Track record of leadership, expertise in a relevant field. That's why people come to us. That's who we cater to. We move quickly. We assume a lot, but we're going to show you how to be a great coach. And we don't mess around with that. There's no fluff. We don't go to the lowest denominator. So, just briefly, when we say executive coaching, I'm not talking about the C-suite at Goldman Sachs necessarily, although you could coach there, right? I'm talking about all levels. We're talking about leaders, okay? Senior leaders, middle managers. A lot of our members like to coach up-and-coming talent, first-time managers, career transitions, entrepreneurs, family-owned businesses, even solo professionals. And again, it's all types of organizations, okay? Big, small, medium, nonprofit, for-profit. We're seeing a lot of growth right now in government and educational institutions, if you have that background. Even the U.S. military is doing a lot of coaching now, which is a pleasure to see. Okay, so you get to choose. You also get to choose your model. Some people come to us and they just want to be an external coach full-time. Some, this is their encore career. It's part of retirement. They want to do this 3 days a week or 2 days a week, not so much for income, but for kicks. Some are full-time or want to be full-time internal coaches, or do coaching as part of a larger strategic human resources role. We have a lot of people who do this as a side business to see if, they can make a go of it. That's how I started. I started getting clients while I was working at the consulting firm to prove I could do it. We have pretty ambitious people who want to build a multi-million-dollar firm with employees and contractors. Some just want to subcontract for a larger coaching broker. In other words, they don't want to do marketing. And so they'll put up with the 50% fee that you get for that. And some of you may want to use coaching as part of what you're already doing as a consultant, trainer, facilitator, speaker, writer, and so on. Okay, super flexible. You get to choose what you do and how you do it. So it's wonderful. It's also lucrative, and you get to work with great people on their most important issues. Okay. One last thing, and then we'll get into the some basics of coaching. Okay. If you join us, we're very different than other firms. We're a boutique firm. You're going to have a boutique organization. We want the best content. We want to give you the best support. We want the best members. We're committed to your success. We consider you to be a member. I'll personally respond to your questions. Some people are surprised that I'll respond within the hour. And if I can't respond by email, we'll set up a conversation and get on the phone, whether it's about how to market your practice, a challenging client, how to position yourself, whatever it is. Okay. So you really get like an extra help desk. We're not just here to give you a certificate. My goal is your success. All right. We're going to go way beyond the ICF core competencies, the International Coaching Federation core competencies, because you have to be successful in the market. Okay. And I think that's key. And then, I pledge that, our content about coaching and about building a practice are unmatched. You will not find more depth. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Okay. Any questions before we jump into the foundations of coaching? You can put them in the chat. Let's see. I don't know how many people we have here. We have a good number of people, so chat might be best. But if there's anything pressing, anything I said that was controversial, surprising. Okay. I guess not. Good. Well, so let's jump into how to coach. And I need to make a couple of assumptions during this session, right? When you join us, there's like hundreds of hours of content. You don't have to go through all of it. But I guess what I'm saying is here we're starting at the very beginning. And so you need to know sort of where all of this fits in so you're not concerned. All right. The assumption I'm making here is you already have a client that is excited and coachable. That in and of itself is some effort. Okay. And we teach you how to know if you have a client that's coachable. Before this webinar, I talked to a member. She's working with the CEO of a private equity owned firm, and a couple of people she's coaching are not coachable. So we gotta look at that. Okay. 2, the goals and scope of the broader engagement are set. Again, we're going to show you how to do that. You can't, this is not for coaches who just want to do one session with people. This is about a long-term, hopefully client relationship. So all we're doing today is focusing on how to have that one single session. Okay. There's still a ton to discuss. The process of coaching, assessing the client. How do you assess? We cover that in our program. How do you make sure results are baked in so you're assuring a return on investment? With our program, you're going to get about 1,000 pages of tools and methods for just about every common and pressing situation a leader has. And we can't cover that right now, right? And how do you eventually achieve trusted advisor status, right? So everyone's clear on that. The scope of what we're doing today has to be, by definition, limited. Okay. I'll show you our member area if you want to stick around for that at the end. And you'll see just how many things you have to, you really have to learn to be a good coach. All right. And just for those of you who don't have definitions for coaching, we define executive coaching as high impact conversations that enable already successful professionals, right? It's not therapy. We're not fixing people. This isn't the thing of last resort before the organization fires somebody. It's not progressive discipline. It's helping already effective and successful people get even better. All right. It's not therapy, which goes into the emotional past. It's not consulting, which is directive and gives advice. But the people who join our program often have a hybrid practice. We have therapists who do coaching. We have consultants who do coaching. We have facilitators who do coaching. So unlike other programs, we're not going to tell you you have to do coaching. What matters is how the client defines value and the best way to get them the value they want. Any questions about that? Yeah, I'll give you this presentation at the end. Thanks for asking that. So the foundational coaching conversation that you're going to learn if you join our program is what we call active inquiry. And there's really 3 steps to this, and that's what I want to go a little bit deep on, and we'll do a practice exercise, okay? So active inquiry is to us, it embodies almost all of the ICF and other organizations' core competencies for coaching. And during a coaching conversation with a client, 3 things are going to happen. 1, I can't start the conversation until we're clear what the goal is, right? A therapist might say, where do you want to start or what's on your mind? You're being paid too much as an executive and leadership coach to do that. You're going to start with what would make this the best hour of your week, or, however you're comfortable framing it. What would be a great outcome today? And we might even go a little further and say, so how specifically will we know? And it's fine. Whatever comes up for them is good. You may even change the goals mid-course, and that's fine, as long as it's explicit, okay? Then you're going to conduct active inquiry. I'll show you what that is in a minute, but essentially, a lot of it is listening, reflecting back, and asking powerful, open-ended, forward-looking questions. You'll see what that is soon. And every once in a while, zooming out to say, hey, like for instance, on a scale of 1 to 10, how close are we to achieving the goal you set for today's session? And if they say a 5, I'm going to say, well, okay, 5 out of 10. What's it going to take? What do you want to talk about now to move closer to a 10? So we zoom out, then we move back in. We zoom out, we move back in. And then one of the most important things, but often overlooked by coaches, especially newer ones, is to close. You want to leave enough time to close strong. A lot of coaching is about helping the client learn about themselves, about the situation, and tell you, come up with what they're going to do next. So, for me, if it's a 1-hour session, although I'm moving more towards 30-minute and even 15-minute sessions, but like in an hour session, maybe with 12 minutes to go, I'll say, hey, we're coming to the end. How do you want to wrap up to make sure this is powerful for you? And generally we get to, what are you learning about yourself as a leader? What are you going to do? What decision are you going to make? Where do we start next time? What did you find most valuable? Whatever the client wants to discuss. Okay. Too many coaches end sessions with a minute to go. I think of like the old Peanuts cartoon where Lucy would just say out of session to Charlie Brown after the nickel or the dime expired. You don't want to do that. Okay. So that's it. Now, the hard part is this middle part called active inquiry. Okay. And so before we get to that, let's take a detour and talk about some bad coaching. Okay. You don't want to focus on the past. The client knows the past. You don't want to open Pandora's box by getting into the emotional past. We don't have to do that as coaches, because our clients, if they need therapy, they need to get therapy. That's different. I don't like focusing on what the client already knows, has tried, or is doing. They do not need to train me about their org chart, their job, their situation at all. I'm not diagnosing. I'm not a consultant, and they're paying me a ton of money. They don't need to pay me a lot of money to train me on their job, because they're the ones who have to do their job. And this is a little bit of the Zen of coaching. So I'm not diagnosing. I'm not saying, here's what I would do here. I'm not asking tons of why questions, like, why didn't you do your homework? I'm also not asking negative questions like, what's in your way? They'll tell you what's in their way. Clients are great at complaining. Our job is to keep things positive and moving forward. We're here to create possibility. Unlike other programs, if you join our program, you won't be evangelizing a specific philosophy, theory, or pseudoscience. Okay? We use an eclectic approach to get results for clients based on what's important to them. We're also not going to use cringeworthy coaching jargon. Okay. You won't hear co-create in our program. All right. We're going to use the client's language and practical things, practical conversations. Any questions about bad coaching? These are just some. I stack questions 20 years later. You only want to ask one question at a time. That's another example. You don't want to interrupt unless there's a stated reason to do it. Why is helping them solve their problem bad? James asked, where do you see me say that where do I say we're not helping them solve their problem? I don't think that's on this page. What I'm saying is we're not going to jump in and do it for them. They're going to come up with the ideas. That's the whole point of coaching, right? A coaching conversation makes sense when there's not a best practice that applies to everyone, where the client has to figure out what's right for them. And the coach's job is to help them figure out how to do that. Okay. So for instance, well, let's just go to advice here, because I think that's important and gets to what you're talking about. So one of the questions that comes up a lot with our members is, when should we give advice? You know, people hire me for my advice. That is absolutely true. And I'm going to differ a little bit with the International Coaching Federation on that if you join our program. The question is when to give advice and how not to give so much that it's about you and not the client. So one of the reading books that we suggest in our program is something called The Advice Trap, same guy who wrote The Coaching Habit. And it's all about the landmines in giving advice. And he would say, just be a little more curious, ask one more question. So think of our clients as very full steam boilers, right? You know, those big industrial strength steam boilers, they're full of steam. If you start wanting to give advice to clients right away, they don't have any space for that. And so what coaching does is let the client think things through, vent a little bit, so they have more space to be creative and so on. Some coaches that are new want to jump right into telling them what they would do. And clients aren't ready for that. Now, by all means, give advice if there's only one answer or best practice. Client says, hey, I'm really attracted to my administrative assistant. I think I'm going to ask her out. I'm going to jump in and say, bad idea, right? The example here is if the client says, where's the bathroom? You're not going to say, I don't know, where would you put it if you were the architect? You're going to say, 2 doors down on the right. So there are times to give advice. Similarly, like, if you have to give advice, give it sparingly. We're going to show you in the program how to do a proper role play. I want to ask the client, what do you think worked? What will you do differently next time? It's not my job to say, hey, do it like me. Okay. But I'd give advice sparingly if I see something glaring. So what we suggest good coaching practice is when the client wants advice, at least ask one more question. I often say to clients, look, I have ideas. I have lots of them. You tend to reject my ideas, and they're also more about what I do given my own style. Let's hear your ideas first. And that helps to get things going. If they're truly stuck, of course, I'll suggest ideas. Often they'll say no to them, and I'll say, well, good. Now you know what not to do. All right. But you can certainly introduce observations and advice as long as you go where the client wants to go. I hear you saying X, but not Y. May I step out of the coaching role and make an observation? There's plenty of ways to do it. Okay. So we're certainly helping our clients solve their problem. What we want to do is, as much as possible, have the client figure it out for what's right for them. It'll take longer. You might not feel as smart. When I first started coaching, I gave the best advice you've ever seen. They'd nod politely and never do any of it, right? So you have to decide what you want to be. Do you want to be the smartest person in the room, or do you want to be the type of coach where the client actually does something and gets better? Okay. So what are good coaching questions? Wait, I see some questions here that might be worth pausing for. Hold on a minute. What's the problem with using what's in your way? I just prefer, what do you need to do? What do you want to talk about so you can move forward? That's all. They'll tell you what's in the way. I don't want to encourage negativity and complaints, right? Never underestimate a client's ability to complain about stuff. Why would we want to encourage that momentum? Our job is to be a stake in the ground for what matters most to them. So that's why. Okay. Let's see what else. Why is co-create bad language? It's not necessarily bad language. I just think it's kind of jargony. It was creating it out of the coaching profession. I just want to use the client's language. Good coaching is about listening. I'll often say, geez, I keep hearing you use this metaphor. Would that be something you want to explore? Let's use the client's language. Anyway, what are good coaching questions? One, open-ended, right? Who, what, where, when, how? What are your ideas here? Where do you want to go from here? Forward moving, not focused on the past. Okay. We want to move into the future, into the unknown, into new possibilities, new ideas. This is something I've learned over 20 years, but the simplest, highest level questions tend to be the strongest. Like what else is a great question. Good coaching, you're letting the client guide the process. Like, where do you want to go from here? Or, what can I ask you now? Or, you've mentioned 3 things. Which of these do you want to explore? Okay. That's why we zoom out, right? There's another question there about, can you say more about zooming out, right? Sometimes coaches think they're having a great session, but the client doesn't. The only way to find out is to zoom out and say, just checking in. How are we doing on your goal? Are we close? What can I ask you now to help you move forward? If you want sort of a formula, I don't love formulas, but if you want a formula to assure that you're going to be having a coaching conversation that at least starts with momentum, there's sort of 3 questions to ask. I say sort of because there might be more than one question in each of these bullets. But one, what would make this a great session? We already covered that, right? So let's say they say, well, I have a challenge with my boss. We're not getting along. And we get into, well, what do they want out of this? Maybe it's ideas to get along with my boss. We can then shift to a question about the situation or challenge or opportunity. Like, what would be a great outcome in your relationship with your boss? And that's it. And now we know what they want for the session. We know what they want in their situation. So now we can move to, so how do you want to start exploring to get there? Or where do you want to start to move towards this goal? Okay. Or what I like, great. Why don't you start? What are some ideas you have now to get there? That's what, what have you tried? If what they tried worked, they wouldn't be needing coaching on it. That's why I don't like to waste their time with that question. Okay. This is sort of the Zen koan part of coaching, but when you get good at coaching, you'll know because you're listening well. And if you do that and keep the goal for the session in mind, I'm telling you, the client tells you exactly what to ask next. And that's the thing with coaching. Good coaching is being so present that you know exactly what to ask next because you've listened. You're not fixing, you're not diagnosing, you're not judging, you're not thinking about it the way you'd think about it. It's really powerful when this happens. That's why you sometimes hear it be called a dance. Let's see, Mike says, I mentioned a contract between CEC and ICF. Yeah, so the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, is a very pure form of coaching. It's very non-directive, very much of inviting the client, and that's great. It's a really important type of coaching to know. What I've learned over the years is that, we're going to train you in the ICF competencies, but sometimes more is needed. The client wants some direction. The client wants something else. They want more powerful questions. They want a framework. And that's where we're going to go a little bit beyond the ICF to show you what is actually needed in the market. Okay. A lot of coaches get fired for, no offense to the ICF, but at the highest level, a lot of coaches would get fired if they followed only the pure ICF approach. Okay. That's my opinion and observation. I've replaced a lot of very good ICF coaches. So what are some good examples of questions, right? These are high level, but what would be an ideal outcome? What are your ideas to get there? Where would you like to go from here? What's a small step you could take to get momentum? What might be working that you can build on? Who does this well and how can you model them? What advice might you give to somebody in the same situation? What's in your control? What do you want coaching on now? What would you ask if you were in my shoes? What else? Right? Obviously, you're not going to do checklist coaching. These are just examples, but I want to give you a sense of good coaching questions. Okay. Any questions so far about this? Is anything seem it's deceptively simple. The hard part is doing it. When you join our program, what we want to make sure you're doing is practicing coaching as much as possible. Okay. All right. Let's see. Emily says, what's a good question? If someone says, I don't know to all your questions, I'm going to say, I don't know either. How can we break through this? A really weird question that comes a little bit from hypnosis, but works is, if you did know, what would the answer be? And that sounds crazy, but every time I've tried it, it works. It's this, I don't understand why it works, but it's great. And again, that's why, Emily, part of our program is we're going to give you about 1,000 pages of tools so that if the client is stuck, you actually have areas of inquiry to cover and frameworks to bring into play that might be really helpful for the client. Okay. All right. What are we going to do now? We talked about advice. So I want to do a practice exercise with you, but if it's okay with you, I know some of you are here and, this is my intent too, to be candid, to learn about the Center for Executive Coaching. Okay. So if it's okay, let me show you that, and then we can get back to a coaching exercise, and then I'll get you this document as well. All right. So briefly, we're accredited with the International Coaching Federation. They changed everything in the past year. They used to, if you know the term ACTP, that went away. It's now, they have levels. We're level 2 and level 1, which means we can get you the most popular and important designations, which are ACC and PCC, right? And to get those, you need a certain amount of coaching training, which we give you. We have like 15 hours of classes every week. You choose which to attend. It's super flexible for you. Each class stands on its own. So we're very different than other programs where you have to show up at certain times. We don't do it that way because every class is about a different situation, and you'll get a curriculum showing you what we're teaching and when. So you have great flexibility. We're known as the top program for busy professionals because of that. You can start anytime. You don't have to finish. It takes about 5 to 6 months to complete the ICF program, 2 to 4 months to complete our certification, but it can take longer if you want. You get up to 2 years, and that's just because our lawyers say that. Okay. So our toolkit training is all the time. That's what our curriculum covers. Okay. More importantly, we go way beyond the ICF competencies. And we've talked about this. We love the ICF core competencies. They're foundational. They've changed the industry. You need to know them, but we believe they're necessary to know, but not sufficient for success. And people join us for that. Okay. We're known for being a leader in executive coach training. We've been training executive coaches worldwide for almost 2 decades. You can go on our website under the testimonials and see the organizations where people have come from, top organizations, but also entrepreneurs, returned military. We've had a couple of coaches from the NFL and Major League Baseball and NBA, a couple of Olympic level athletes who want to get into peak performance coaching. Our participants, as I said before, come to us with strong backgrounds. Might be education, technical skills, leadership. And again, they come to us because we're practical, we're results driven. Okay. So let me just share with you what you get when you join us, what the programs are, and then we'll move into it. Okay. So with us, you're going to get about 1,000 pages of practical, proven coaching solutions. Let me go to the website here for a minute and just show you this. I hope it's still up. So if you go to our member area, like someone's asking what sets us apart, I can guarantee you that no other organization is going to give you a just-in-time library of over 1,000 pages of tools, right? So like what we're doing is active inquiry here. There's, a good 6 hours of that, including a lot more resources, all right here for you, right? So you can go automatically and have this library. But from there, we get into the process of coaching, which we're not covering today. The way to assess the client, including a sort of a survey course of best practice assessment tools. You'll learn how to do a 360-degree verbal assessment. We have a great tool called the Leaders Dashboard. That's a 1-page leadership development plan and gets leaders focused on what matters most. We have proven methodologies about changing a behavior to help someone have more impact as a leader, or to deal with those brilliant jerks, which is a huge area of coaching right now. People in law firms, healthcare, technology, they're brilliant, venture capital, but people hate working with them. And the organization can't fire them because they're too important. So we show you how to do that. We show you how to help clients shift perceptions. Like, I can't trust people, or I need things to be perfect, but without going into therapy. We also talk about how to coach people on that inner game of successful leadership, how to communicate simply and powerfully, influence, overwhelm, executive presidents, personal domains, professional relationships, up, down, and across, engaging employees. And again, with all of these, you're going to get about a 40-page toolkit. You're going to get a sample PowerPoint you can use for speaking and training, and you're going to get, about quite a few hours of training. This is what our live stuff covers as well. So you choose how you go, although for the ICF, you need to be live for half of it. What else do we have? Let's see. We get into team coaching, strategic planning, leading change, succession planning, service excellence, mergers, on and on, where we have a whole bundle for career transition coaching, coaching the growing business, and some other things as well. Okay. So again, when you're asking what's the difference between us and other programs, that's one of the big ones. Let me go back to the PowerPoint just so you see. Again, many ways to learn at your pace and convenience. Our schedule is on our website. We have 5 faculty members, including myself, teaching the same curriculum, but at different times of the day and week. You can go back and forth if you want. So you get different styles and approaches, especially if you're really busy. Or you could pick one faculty member and just block out the time. Like, I teach Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 to 2:30. What else? We covered the ICF designations. We joined the amazing cohort of leaders. We covered that. If you want to build a professional practice, I've written a couple of books on that, including 3 guerrilla marketing books. And I'll give you one-on-one support on how to do that. Okay. I'm frequently reviewing marketing messages, LinkedIn, websites, talking to our members about tough client situations, but also how to land clients. We talked about the resources you get. Whoops, sorry. Personal support. Okay, you get the idea. The place you want to go, just quickly on our website, so I don't torture you more with this, is here. Let me show you quickly, and then we'll get back to it. Okay, is under Get Certified. Just go where it says Start Here. And it's a long page, but it tells you what sets us apart. And it tells you your 4 program options. Okay. The only other thing I'd share is we're now filling for, like, you can, for a little bit more money, you get a 3-day seminar. We're filling up for December 4th, 5th, and 6th. Or if you can't make weekdays, we have a 2-day weekend seminar. Obviously, we've cut a little of the agenda down for that, but you can get certified that way. And it all still includes our full distance learning program. Okay. But again, to learn everything, just go here where it talks about everything and shows you, what the program's about. Okay. All right. Let me go back to this. I think we're almost done here. So just so you know, our prices, when you go to other programs, they're not very transparent. They'll get you into a foundations course, and then before you know it, you're in for $15,000. We tell you what your entire price is. Our core program gives you everything we have. If in doubt, start here. And again, I'll give you this document. It's everything we have except for a seminar and 10 hours of mentor coaching. Everything you do counts towards your ICF designation if you want that. You choose which classes to attend, or you can pick a faculty member and stick with that, or you can learn at your own pace. It takes 2 to 4 months. You graduate because we're going to review your coaching. And once you meet our competencies and the ICF competencies, we give you the certified executive coach certification. For that's $4,900. For $2,500 more, you add the one missing piece for the ICF, and that's just 10 hours of mentor coaching over 3 months. Okay. Once you do that, you can apply to the ICF the easiest way. Other people, if you don't join a level 1 or 2 program, just know this, regardless of which program you join, you have to submit to the ICF recordings. You don't have to do that with us because we're a level 1 and level 2 program. It's really important. So if you want the ICF, you can start anytime. The cost is now $73.50 or 10 payments of $750. We're changing that because of interest rates. This doesn't make sense. This made sense in a 0 interest rate environment. What else was I going to say about that? I think that's good. The only other thing missing is that seminar. Again, $2,500 more. And so if you do all of the above, the core program, the ICF mentor coaching, and the seminar, it's $9,800. That's it. The only other fee is to apply to the ICF. That'll be a few $100s. We also give you the resources you need to make sure you pass their test. Okay. So I'll take some questions quick and then let's move into practice. Okay. Can a CEC coach, this is a great question. Can you take our program and be successful without the ICF? Yes, you can. Everybody joins us because we're accredited with the ICF. I would say 60% actually get the ICF designation. Okay. And we show you a lot about, when you need the ICF, when you don't, how to market yourself. If you're going to go after big companies or organizations that care a lot about credentials, and you think you're going to be a pure coach going through human resources, you should get the ICF. Okay. Diana asked, what will the 2-day weekend miss for ICF certification? So it's a good question. The minimum for ICF certification is 60 hours of training plus mentor coaching. The 2-day weekend will get you about 16 hours of the 60 hours you need. Okay. And you still need mentor coaching. So it will accelerate things, but you'll also get our certificate. All right. Oh, yeah. We have a university relationship too. I forgot about that. For a little bit more, you'll see it on our website. We have an affiliation with St. Joseph's University. We're essentially their trainer. And so if you want a university certificate, you can get the St. Joseph's University certificate along with ours. And it's the ICF program. It costs a little bit more. It includes a little bit more, and you'd have to pay through the university. So that's on our website. It's described. If you're interested, I can connect you with that university there. Okay. We also match you up with other coaches, because the other thing you need is at least 100 hours of coaching experience from the time you join our program. And we have a feature in our member area where you match up with other coaches to get that. Okay. So it's really easy. The ICF allows you to count bartering with another coach as paid coaching. All right. So that's pretty cool. If you're an internal coach, everything you do as part of your job, other than coaching direct reports, counts as well towards the ICF. All right. Let's see. Let's see if I've covered everything. Thanks for your patience. And let me see. How do clients typically measure success with my coaching services? Great question. And the answer is, I don't take a client until we've determined that. And you never know, right? I'll tell you something interesting. Initially, we're talking about business issues, like we need to retain people. We're not achieving our quarterly numbers. I want to do what it takes to get promoted. Never promise a promotion, but at the end, when they report what was most valuable and the real reason they hire you is something personal and intangible. I'm stressed. I'm afraid. If I don't solve this problem, I'm going to look bad and maybe get fired. So it all depends. A lot of my clients today are about how they spend their time. They're overwhelmed. And so we set very clear goals about what they want their time to look like and what that's worth to them if they can make it happen. So it always depends. Janet says, how long do you have access to the material? You can download everything and keep it. Our lawyers make us tell you that you get 2 years of access to the member area. We've never kicked anybody out informally. Right. But our lawyers say I can't promise lifetime access. All right. Good stuff. Can you get coaching credit by offering pro bono? Yes, but only for a small percentage of your hours with the ICF. And I can't remember that number. It's either 10% or 25%. They changed it during COVID. But guess what? The ICF doesn't tell you how much you have to charge. Like if someone gives you a Starbucks gift card and says, yeah, this counts as paid, that's okay. There's like a joke in the coaching world that there's a $10 bill somewhere on the planet that every coach and client has touched, right? The ICF doesn't say it has to be a $1,000 gig. Our cost, is it competitive or not? We just did a study on that and we're way low right now. We haven't raised prices for 12 years. Some of these places now are $15,000, $20,000. So I think you can imagine what's coming soon. I can't tell you when. But we've realized that we're way underpricing ourselves right now. Our certified professional coach, I don't even know that one. Is that with Coactive? Coactive is a life coaching school, in my opinion. If you want life coaching, you should go to Coactive. Okay. If you want executive and leadership coaching, my opinion is you should come to us. What's really known as the credential is the ICF credential. Like if you think a credential is important, you should get the ICF credential. They're known as the gold standard, right? What we offer is great, but the reason people join us is for our tools and our support. Okay. All right. Do we have our own preferred assessment tool? We have non-validated ones. What is important to us is that you get a third-party assessment tool that's validated. There are coaching programs that have their own internal assessment tool, and I strongly suggest you look at their validity and reliability scores, because you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble if you're using one that's not reliable and valid. And quite frankly, coach training programs like me, ours, we don't know how to do assessment tools. You have to hire people and you have to validate them. The ones we're going to recommend to you are third-party tools. They cost something to get certified, or you can connect with our alumni, which happens like I use one where I just do it through one of our graduates because I like it, but I don't want to get certified in it. But you have to make sure that you're using one of those if you want to be credible. Okay. All right, let's practice. Is there a schedule for training? Yeah, you'll get a curriculum showing everything. Let me just go to the website and show you where to see our schedule. And then let's get into some practice because that's what I promised we'd do. So if you go to our website and click in live-webinar-schedule after centerforexecutivecoaching.com, if all goes well, you'll see the schedule. Okay, it's right here. I teach cycle 1. We have 4 other faculty members. And frankly, we have other faculty members too. We have an assessment expert or 2. We have a mentor coaching team. We also have trainers around the world where English isn't spoken as a first language. But this is where you're going to want to get in. And it generally works pretty well, that everyone can find a time that works for them. And again, you can bounce around between them. You can start anytime once you do the orientation we give you. All right. Good. Thanks for asking that. All right, let's go to a practice exercise. Here's what we're going to do. Look, if you joined our program, you're going to get so much practice. You're going to see demonstrations. We're going to work together. We have all sorts of exercises to get you to be good as a coach. I'll work with you one-on-one if you need it. The problem with these public webinars is we don't know each other. Have you been on these? There's always a couple of weirdos. And so I'm not comfortable putting you into breakout groups. So we're just going to do this sort of not the way I do it in the program. Our classes are way more interactive than this, and I apologize in advance, but it's kind of important that you get that. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We have a client that's interested in thinking about or improving overwhelm, or not being as overwhelmed. I'm just going to tell you what the client says. I'm going to give you a couple of poor responses by the coach, and just for the heck of it, let's have you put a better alternative into the chat. Okay. So let's say the coach starts with what's on your mind. Where do you want to start? Tell me what's happened in the last week or so, or, it's a crazy world. How are you doing with the news about whatever? What would be a better alternative to really, given that you're being paid a fortune to get things going? Type it into the chat. Let's see what we have here. What do you want to achieve today? Great. What would make this a great session? Good. That's exactly what we talked about in the beginning. Really important. You have to figure out how to say it in a way that you're comfortable with, but that's right. We want to set a clear intent. And then I'll even say, how specifically will you know? Right. So 2 questions to get at it. Let's say the client says, I'm overwhelmed. I need to get control of my time. This coach starts with, what have you tried? Can you have a conversation with your boss? Right. That's a problem, right? It's a good idea, maybe, but it's very directive. What are you doing that you can stop doing? I mean, where'd they come up with that? What would be a good alternative? I'm overwhelmed and I need to get control of my time. What's bringing you joy? You see, that to me is a little bit directive. What would be an ideal outcome? Could be good. Let's identify your priorities. Tell me more. That's always a great one. How do you spend your time today is okay. I mean, I think what I'd ask maybe is, let's say we solve this. What would it look like for you? Or we could say, where do you want to begin? That would be useful to you. Okay. Like before we jump into our methodology or approach, let's back up a little. Remember, the client's a really full steam boiler. Let's understand their thinking, their ideas, because it's going to be really valuable if we do. So a lot of you are jumping in. Like, you ever played 20 questions? Like I do this with my daughter. And back when she was 8, right? I'd say, I'm thinking of a thing. You have 20 questions. Her first question would be, is it a drum? I don't know why she'd do that, but that's what she'd ask. And like, do you see what she did? She went way down the logic tree, right to the details. If you do that, your client's going to learn about how you think and your ideas. Much better to start at that higher level, right? Tell me more, right? What would be a good outcome here? Where do you want to start? All right, let's say the client says, I really like the urgency importance grid by Covey, right? Now, I would say mediocre responses are things like, hey, I love his work. Have you also read The 8th Habit, right? Why? Because that distracts. It's about the coach. I have another book suggestion. Again, totally taking us sideways. Can you explain it to me? I kind of know it, but it would help if you took a few minutes to get me up to speed on it. Guess what? You don't need to be up to speed on anything. What would be a good coaching question here? Tell me why is okay. I don't love why, but it's okay here. Why do you like it again? What is it that you like? Yeah, you know what? I think we could get even further along towards voltage here by saying something like, how can you use that? Or how do you want to use that to get insights about how you want to spend your time? Or how do you want to use that to apply to what you want to achieve here? Right? Do you see how that's a really high level question? Yeah, there it is. I see it here. How does it apply? How can you use that to solve your problem? Good. Everyone get this now? Let me just take a pause here. Do you see what coaching is? It's really taking that step back. It was super hard for me when I first started, right? Like my first client it was a fake, it was a practice thing, but the client says, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Hawaii and I want to know if that's a good idea. The first thing I ever said as a coach was, what are you, crazy? When are you moving? Right? And so it took me a while. Thankfully, I had a third party who called, hey, Andrew, time out. Can you ask another question? Right? And so, this takes time. It's not as easy as it looks. All right. So let's say we keep talking and at some point the client says, I guess one way I can start is by laying out the way I use my time now. All right. And we see a couple of responses from the coach here. Let's see, like that seems tactical. I'd rather start with your values and what really matters to you. Or let's start with your vision. How does that sound? Does everyone get how these are about the coach and how it might be? These are great questions, right? Nothing wrong with them, right? But so then what would be the natural question? We heard them. We know their goal is to get control of their time. We know they want to start by laying out the way they use their time. What is the classic question? Like, I don't care how they came to this. I don't care, but I would just say, all right, let's start. How do you want to start? Everyone get that? Now, I don't care how that's worked for them. They didn't ask that, right? What's the first 2 things you do? Why'd you pick the number 2? Maybe they don't think in 2s, right? That's a great idea. May I offer a situation? No, I'd say that's you jumping in right away. Time is not a renewable resource. That's a great observation, but has nothing to do with what the client is saying. Okay, so to me, good coaching is, and I'm not saying there's one right answer, but the closest, best answer to coaching here would probably be something that invites the client to start with what they want to start doing. Does everyone get that? Yeah, sure. Let's try that and then keep quiet. Beautiful. All right. So then let's say the client, again, we do some work, who knows? At some point, the client says, I noticed that I spend too much time when employees come to my office with problems, right? Here's some responses by the coach. Hey, of course, it's the current generation of workers. They're so needy. That's not helpful. Well, you get what you tolerate. Okay, that's true, but we're kind of jumping the gun here. And I applaud that. It means you care about your employees, right? We're not here to judge positively or negatively. We could acknowledge progress that the client's making. But what could we ask here? Great question. Christine, what could you do instead? I think that's a natural, right? The client says, I do this. It's implied they don't want to. What's the alternative? How would you like that to look different? Great. Say more about that. I'll accept that. It could have more voltage. I think the other questions have more voltage, but say more about that invites the client to explore it a little bit more. That's all good. That's good. I think I'm seeing a shift in the responses in the chat. All right, let's say we keep talking to the client and the client says, really what it is I hate to say no. And as a result, I say yes to things that I know will get me in the weeds, right? Mediocre responses. I love what happened when you were young that caused you to be this way, right? Going right into therapy. How does it feel when you say no? I mean, that's okay because the client said, I hate to say no. They've already told you. So you could say, do you want to explore your feelings about saying no? But I think there's some more positive moving forward questions we could ask. Okay, interesting. What could go wrong if you did say no? That's an interesting one. What else? How might you change your response? Yeah. I might even, well, let's see what else in the chat here. What are the consequences of saying yes? Okay, good. And they've told you. I know it'll get me in the weeds. So we could reflect back though to that. That's good. How do we move forward from this one though? I don't know that when does this happen? Okay, that's situational. The client already knows, but maybe it could generate awareness. How would no change the outcome? What boundaries would you like to set? That's interesting. I kind of like that one. Right. So, again, I might on this one take a step back and just say, so, how can I be most helpful to you here? Right. Good. There's lots of good questions in the chat here. Just a few more. We'll do a few more. Is this helpful? Again, I don't usually teach it this way in the class, but I think this is one thing we do is we break down what the client said exactly. And then we say, what's going through our head? What are possible responses? What do you think the best possible response here is? Okay. Yeah, Kath says what I had. She says, I've been a consultant for 25 years. This is an important shift. It really is. And I found as a consultant too, like once the answer was known, that was the easy part, right? You take two identical organizations, one makes it happen, one doesn't. The difference isn't that they had the right consultant. The difference is leadership. And that's where coaching comes into play, is helping the leader figure out how to influence people, how to get people excited, and things like that. All right, what do we have more? One idea I have is to delegate more to one of my employees who seems ready to move up in the company. So great idea. What's another one? See what the coach did there? The coach decided we should brainstorm. The client didn't say that. And what's holding you back? Again, we're taking it negative now. What would be a better response here? They've told you the idea. What can you do to take that first step? Okay, that's often helpful. What can you delegate? Okay, great. How would you do this? I like, of the three, I think I like that one the most, Karen. Thanks. Because great. How would you do this? We're jumping right in, moving them forward. We could be a little more passive. Another approach might be to say, great, do you want to explore that, or do you want to come up with other ideas? Because the client said one idea. Maybe that implies they want to come up with others. So, maybe we just want to start there. Do you want to brainstorm a bunch of ideas, or do you want to go deeper on this? They say, I want to go deeper on this. You say, great. What do you want to talk about that will help you delegate more? Okay. Let's say the client says, now, what do you suggest? We've been talking a while. What are your ideas? Mediocre response. It's about time you asked. And I find I listen to hundreds of recordings of coaches, and almost always the new coaches, the second, third becomes their TED talk. It's like, oh, thank God you asked. Let me lecture you on time management now. Right. Yeah. Kirsten, you have it. I'd like to hear your thoughts first. I like to say, look, I have tons of suggestions. We've worked together for a while. You tend to reject my suggestions. So let's not go down that road. What else do you have in mind? Right. But you could also take this moment to answer say, look, what I suggest is I've heard some great ideas. I've seen your facial expression shift a little bit. You seem like, when we first started, you're really stressed and tense. You don't seem that way now. So, you tell me, where do you want to go from here? Great. David has a great one. Sounds like you have more ideas. Are you ready would you like to discuss those? Or maybe like less yes, no, but what would you like to discuss there? Great. You got it. I think there's just two more of these, I think. I still feel stuck. So poor response. Who do you know who does this well? Could be okay, but are we ready to ask that? What's a book you can read? What training can you take to fix this? Where precisely in your body does that feeling of stuckness show up? There's some coaching programs that will make you ask that. What would be good here? I still feel stuck. Great. How can I help you get unstuck? Good. What do you mean? Yeah, tell me more. What do you mean by stuck? what feels like a barrier. I'm here to help. Great. All good. We're just listening. Do you see how it's slower, but as with barbecue, if you cook something slow for a long time, you could get something really delicious, right? And with me, I'm trying to have a long-term relationship with the client. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so we're going to go at the client's pace. If they feel stuck, that's really important. I don't need to explore the past, but even an interesting question could be, what would it look like if you didn't feel stuck? Oh, Sarah, you just asked that. Awesome. We're on the same page. Good. Yeah. Emily, what do you want to talk about to get unstuck? Beautiful stuff. Okay. Let me see here. There's a meta question. What is this meta question? Let me hold on. Given that the work is with seasoned, accomplished professionals and the assumption is that they have the answer inside them, why do they need an executive coach to get there? Because they're stuck. They have what's called a choke point. That's why. I'll give an example. I've never worked with an individual like this before, but through a referral, someone who's won some Grammy Awards in the music industry called me, right? I don't know anything about music. I'm tone deaf. And so I said, why do you want coaching? And he said, I have a couple of kids. I'm at a point in my career where I'm going to become irrelevant. I'm in my 40s now. I'm not seeing my kids. And I also want to figure out my legacy. And I don't know how to do that. And my manager wants my money. I can't trust him. The record companies want me to do, and I can't say no to them, but they don't have my best interest in mind. I need someone I can talk to who has my best interest in mind and can help me with these issues. So that's an example. Okay. Everybody, seasoned executives have the same problems as the rest of us. They're overwhelmed. A lot of people I coach are in new positions. Marshall Goldsmith's book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. That title alone is an excellent reason why people hire coaches. Okay. So, and when you join the program, again, as I said, we're setting scope here. The contracting phase is when you figure out whether it's good or not, whether it's a good fit or not for you and the client. That's not what we're talking about here. Here, I just want to introduce you to the beginning, which is how do you have a successful coaching conversation? But that's right. You can't take on a client until you've done some things, and that's another part of our program. All right. I'm afraid of asserting and setting boundaries about my priorities. I think that's sort of similar to the other one. Let's see if we have any others. All right. Let's do these last. How many more do we have? Well, we have a few. Okay. So I need a plan. What's a good coaching question there? I need a plan. Anyone? Yeah. What type of plan? What's the plan? Let's start. Right? Would you like to start planning here? Maybe they want to do it offline and send it to you or have it for the next session. We got to find out. Good. Now, let's just say I feel like I have a plan, right? They're pretty good. They're in a good shape. What do you want to say here as a coach? You could say, what will go wrong? I like it too. You seem to be all set. What's plan B? These are all directive from the coach. What would be a good, I'd say a better alternative here? Client says, I feel like I have a plan. Tell me about it. You don't know. Maybe they don't want to tell you about it. What's the first step? Who cares? Maybe they don't want to tell you the first step. Why is it any of your business? Right? How do you ensure you stay on course? Could be great, but I'm going to say that's great. You have a plan. How can I help you from here? Or, when we first started, you said you wanted a plan. What else do you want to talk about? Or should we move to wrapping up? Okay. Again, the client tells you exactly what to ask. They didn't ask you if they could read step one of the plan. They didn't ask you if they could review the plan with you. They might want to, but until you explore a little bit or invite them, I'd invite them to say, what do you want to talk about? If anything, they might say, I'm fine. Okay. All right. Let's see. It's just my boss often changes things and I don't know how to get on the same page with him. Again, yeah, I think you get the idea on that one. So let's go to the end here. We have 10 minutes left. Can I talk to you about a conflict I'm having with a colleague? All right. So mediocre responses, in my opinion, are sure. Tell me about them. What's their name? What's their title and job description? Or we don't have much time. Can we discuss this next week? Or, this isn't really in our contract. What's a better alternative here? We have 10 minutes left. You're going to have clients all the time. who will, it's called like at the door kind of questions. I've had client Tasha says, here's my bill. That's good for the last one. Great. By the way, get paid up front. You shouldn't have to submit a bill. If you're submitting a bill during the coaching, there's a problem. Give me a high level overview. Then we can talk about it next time. No, I just say, look, we only have 10 minutes. What would be useful to talk about in the 10 minutes we have to help you resolve this? Yeah, I like what Cesar does too. First, have we met your initial goals with the session? That's a great point, Cesar. Sometimes clients will move to a different topic before it makes sense. All right, this has been really helpful. Thanks. I don't think we say no problem. See you next week. What do we do here? What would be good? I mean, there's lots of answers here. You could end. Again, I like to leave time with wrap up. And I say, I'm so glad. What else can we do now to wrap up so it's powerful? And they might say, I'm done. Right. By the way, I'm moving to shorter and shorter sessions with clients. Clients will pay the same amount or more for getting results in less time. Okay, good. All right, my next step, this is the last one. My next step is to write down 10 ideas to be more productive, right? The coach says, well, there's an app to do that, or I think that's too many. Why not 3? Should I email you to follow up? What might be a better thing to say as a coach here? Yeah, Kelly, that's a good one. What did you get out of this session? What could make the next one more valuable? That's good. I mean, if they have a next step, say, look, do you need any support from me? Is there anything to talk about? Most clients who say they're going to write down 10 ideas to be more productive are going to do it. We don't have to micromanage them. They might want to do it now. They might not want to. We check in. All right. So let's just go back to what we've covered here. And then I'll take any questions you have. All right. We talked about what? The coaching, whether you're going to be a good coach or not, the coaching market, our pledge. We talked about active inquiry, good and bad coaching, examples, when you should give advice. Talked about the Center for Executive Coaching. And then we did this practice exercise. All right. So, just so you know, this is it. The next steps from here, and I'll put this document in the chat in a minute. But the next steps from here should be visit the site, go to where it says get certified, read your options. Again, I hope you'll come to our seminars. We have one in December and one in November. Costs a little bit more, but they get great reviews. If you want, reach out to me, and I'm happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you about fit, right? By the way, we don't have an in-depth application process. If I look at your LinkedIn and have a conversation with you, I pretty much know if you're right. We're not going to torture you. I have a marketing consultant who said we're supposed to do an application because it's good for conversion, but I don't want to. You've applied to enough things. I can read your LinkedIn to know what you've done. It's easy. I can talk to you to know that you're smart and you'd be a good fit. Okay. All right. So let me stop the share. I'm going to stop the record now so that if you're listening to the recording and you do want to connect, just reach out.